Alright, so we are now officially streaming. We should be able to see the stream pop up here, and if things have been going as they have normally been for me, I should be hearing, even though Twitch is muted for me, a very loud Domino's advertisement. I have no idea why it does that, but it advertises Domino's and it's always very loud.
Your soul
They
craves it.
really want you to have Domino's.
Domino's is good pizza. I plugola for Domino's. I like
Yeah,
Domino's.
here we are plugging Domino's at the start of the
Ooh.
Fractured Space stream.
Freaking shockwave crashed. Oh well, it appears everything's working, so we're just gonna pretend it is. So, hello everybody, and welcome to this, the third monthly so far podcast of the Duckworks. We have a fantastic group of people joining us today. Willis, of course, from Edge Case Games, being our super ultra special guest. We have Jiraiya, Architect, and Fox joining us from our player base. And then it's on my channel, so I'm here too, I guess. Anyway, how are you guys doing?
Wonderful.
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Awesome. So, then let's jump right into it. Willis, you are the guy, the main man working on the new map, and I'm pretty sure everybody is dying to know as much as they could possibly find out about that. So if you would please share with us some details.
Right, yeah, well, where to start? Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Yeah, this week we finally had some successful playtests on the map, so it's starting to show some promise.
Yay.
Basically, it's been really hard trying to hit those. With the current live version of the map, with the way the capturing works backwards and forwards and all that kind of stuff, it's got some nice kind of flow. You can turn games around. So we're trying to hit the same kind of beats with different mechanics. So there's been some trial and error. I think we're getting close to the way it needs to be in terms of one thing that we realized when the early playtests was with the new forward stations, for example. The new forward stations have got kind of turret platforms on them, and then when you take out the turret platforms, you then expose the core of the station, and you destroy that core, and that opens up jump routes. So it's a lot more kind of explosive, and you're actually kind of having to sort of work out whether you're going to use your abilities on the defenders and prioritize the defenders above the turrets and all that kind of stuff. And it's been interesting just trying to find the strength that those turrets need to be, for example. Earlier in the earlier tests, I had them pretty tough. Like we were thinking, okay, so forward stations, we really want people to be taking those down once they get to about level 4, maybe level 5. So if we make those turrets kind of a challenge for level 3, level 4 players, then that was our initial pass. But naturally, as soon as you've got 1 or 2 people defending that, that's like having an extra ship, and we were finding that we just slowed the game down so much. People couldn't push past these forward stations because they were so strong. So the current balance we've got it on, which actually feels pretty good, each turret is about as strong as, let's say, a level 0 hunter. A one-on-one with a level 0 hunter versus this turret, you'll take it down, and you'll have maybe a couple of hundred health left. But if they're any stronger than that, all of a sudden it just seems to be impossible to push, and you don't really get that nice flow.
I didn't do it.
Yeah. So yeah, the forward stations have kind of evolved pretty nicely. We're also, at the moment, we're just kind of working out exactly how the kind of recapturing is going to work, because you're destroying this thing to take it down. But initially we kind of had that as you take it out and then it's down for a certain amount of time and then it regenerates. I think we're also going to kind of speed up that regeneration based on nearby friendly ships, so you can almost essentially kind of capture it back. But yeah, it's interesting the way it's been evolving. In the early stages, I tried out having tons of turrets all over the place. We had like these little separate healing stations and things like that. And we very quickly realized, I mean, in the live version with just the ships and the kind of the fighters and the missiles and stuff, there's a lot of stuff on the HUD. There's an awful lot of stuff to keep track of, and as soon as you start throwing hundreds of targets around there as well, like stations and things like that, it starts getting really, really messy. So I've really been trying to kind of keep it clean in terms of kind of simple structures which don't have too many separate elements on them to target, or if they do have a lot of elements, you can only really see a few of them at a time, so you don't have too much in your face at one time. But yeah, it's interesting. I also sort of initially played around with turrets on the front of the forward stations, which were kind of covering the mines. But we've kind of felt like too much stuff intruding on that play space in the middle of alpha and the middle of beta. It just kind of got in the way of those cool kind of 2v2 and 3v3 skirmishes that take place there. So yeah, we really wanted to kind of leave that no man's land in the middle of the lanes, largely to maintain the cool little kind of fleet battles that you have there. But I guess the big change that's come that I've put into the map recently is, which I'm really excited about, that seems to be working really well, is we've now got like little warp spawn areas. So your team spawns in warp, and then you jump into the map. So you kind of got your safe place to spawn, and then you can jump into the home base sector if it's under threat, or you can jump into alpha, beta, and gamma. And now the jumps, there are a lot of jump options. The jump map makes sense because you've got, well, from the home base, you've got 4 spots in gamma, 4 spots in alpha, and 4 spots in beta that you can do. From gamma, you've got 4 in alpha, 4 in beta. From alpha, and when you're in a sector, you can also jump to any of the jump points within that sector. So you can now jump back to your forward station to heal and things like that. So yeah, it's following on from the one bit of negative feedback that I've had about this whole system, because I think the system's working really well. The one negative thing is the fact that you're spawning in warp, and the fact that you can jump straight to alpha, beta, and gamma means you can potentially never really see your home base. And so people have been feeling a little bit of a disconnect from their home base. But then again, you're still jumping back to defend it when it's under attack and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. It's definitely changed up the flow of it. Like once you've taken down the enemy's kind of inhibitor in alpha or beta, you can literally jump to any of like 12 points in that lane. It's crazy. But yeah, it's going to change the flow up a little bit. It's going to hopefully enable kind of more flanking maneuvers and those kind of things. And I'm also kind of playing around with the kind of the asteroid setups and making alpha is now a lot more dense. There's a lot more kind of things to hide behind, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing a few more kind of, something I always wanted from like the Brawler, for example, is the ability to kind of lurk behind an asteroid and then ambush people on the way past and things. And the current layouts of the lanes, there's not really the big things to hide behind in convenient places. So it's we're not really seeing any of that. So yeah, it's going to change things up for sure.
Man.
Question on that. The gas mining stations, I noticed that there was some concept art a little while ago of you guys wanting to snuggle them against asteroids and make them, like each one is its own little mining outpost sort of thing instead of this ambiguous structure floating in the middle of space.
For sure.
Like, have you had a chance to play with that yet?
Well, we've got like this. It's a kind of a first pass art version of one of the mining facilities, and that's we've literally just got that into the new map. It's probably going to have a little bit of a rework because it's not as useful for cover as the really crappy grey box one that I made, and I think that's important. You need to be able to hide behind it while they're capturing it. So it's probably going to end up being just reworked a little to make it more useful. And then the idea is we're going to take kind of elements of that and plug them into asteroids nearby. So they'll almost be like, I don't know, little kind of landing pads or launch bays or something, and they'll be plugged into the asteroids nearby. And then when it's captured, we can get in little mining drones coming out and going backwards and forwards to those little kind of. So then the main facility is like a station, and then it'll have like little bits plugged into asteroids that it kind of interacts with. Is the idea. Yeah. Actually, I've done a bit of kind of rebalancing on the value of mines and the value of kills and things in the new version of the map as well, and also a little bit to the way the level up requirements. So I've kind of smoothed the curve a little on level ups. So I've pushed back level 1 to 1,000, and it's 2,000, and it's 4,000, 7. So basically, each level up requires an extra 1,000 of XP in addition to the previous one. So to get to 9, it's now 37 rather than 40. So it's pretty much the same total XP you need, but it's smoothed. I've smoothed the curve some. Mines are now worth double, but there aren't 2 mines in your home base sector. You've kind of got that resource rolled into your home base, so that those can never be captured off you. So you've always got that little trickle.
Okay, so you can never be getting absolute 0, like if you were getting completely controlled by the other team again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. That's fantastic.
And I've bumped the values of kills a bit. So first blood is always worth 500 now.
Okay.
You do get a bonus for first blood in the live version, but it's reduced at the start of the game. So it doesn't really make a great deal of difference. But yeah, there's the first blood's worth 500, and then we've got kind of kills are now worth 300, and that diminishes each time by 50 each time if you keep dying. So your second time you die is worth 250, 200, and it adds and it's worth an extra 50 each time you get a kill up to 500. So much like League of Legends kind of killing spree kind of shutdown bonuses, that kind of thing. So resource gain's a lot faster. You're leveling up a little bit faster, so it's going to probably make abilities like with this new system, we're going to be able to add new abilities that enable you to upgrade where you are. So like maybe we'll have a support ship that can give you like works as like a mobile upgrade point, so you'll be able to upgrade mid lane and things. So it's interesting. Things are changing a bit, but and lots of little things are changing a bit, and it's quite a challenge just to kind of make sure we don't break stuff.
That's actually a question that I had with the new mechanic of the map. Like, as you said, you're changing the curve of leveling and such. The curve from level 0 to level 1, it happens so fast that by the time you get to mid lane, you're already both level 1. And so you're having this level 0 fight, or you could hang out at your station and get level 1 and, jump them mid lane while they're level 0. So like it happens seemingly to me a bit too quickly.
A very awkward timing. It's like just after you've got past your forward station, and then all of a sudden you ding one. You're like, oh, do I back up? Do I go get that, or do I? Yeah. So the aim is to get rid of those awkward moments in the early game with the new values. I'm not sure if they're right yet. I've been playing with them, and the idea is to get rid of that awkward kind of, because it happens, is guaranteed to happen in the live version of the map because of those 2 mining facilities and because of the level up time. So yeah, that was the intention. Push back level 1 by a little bit so that it actually becomes a reasonable choice to go back and get it rather than a kind of I
forgot something at home. I've left my left sock.
Yeah, and I also find, right now with the live version of the map, even if you're really, really dominating a game, it's very, very rare to get any kind of lead. So I'm hoping, when we first released, it was very punishing the other way. We had ridiculous, out of control snowballs every other game, and we certainly don't want to go back to that. But I think we do need to allow people to get more of a lead than they can right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when you're dominating on kills and you're even on resources, you'd expect to be ahead, and you're not right now. So hopefully these new values will go somewhere to pushing that.
Yeah, I've been noticing in the tournament we've had a few times where Loa will be up, say, 10,000 resources on the opponent and a boatload of kills, and there's barely a single level difference. They're 6, we're 7, And it does kind of feel now that if you let them get too far, it just doesn't matter. Mining stations completely become pointless at about 13 minutes.
There's also the fact that, the mining stations do become just meaningless at a certain point in the game, which I really want to look at. And I think maybe the answer for that is for us to just add more levels and allow people to get even stronger as the game goes on. I don't think we necessarily need the cap we have right now. We could allow people to continue scaling.
Now, this is also another question of import. The way we level up right now is we get this all-around inclusive buff that just kind of makes us better. And that's the general term we have to tell new players to the game. You go to the station, and it makes you better. People are kind of expecting those little numbers up in the right corner. Why is there a flag? Why is there a damage doohickey? Do we get to choose? No. So is there anything that you guys are going to play with now or in the future that emphasizes choice upon level up?
Oh, yeah. The thing that we really like in Heroes of the Storm is the options they give you on level up. So we've talked for a while about doing this, and Stanith, our lead programmer, he's actually really keen to kind of get cracking on the groundwork for it very soon. Is basically something along the lines of the level up options you have in Heroes of the Storm. So it'll be so let's say you're playing an assassin and you level up, maybe it'll give you the option to increase the damage on your rockets by a little bit, or maybe reduce the stealth drain of a little bit. So you'll be kind of almost choosing your spec as you level up, that kind of thing. So so there might be like 2 or 3 options per level, and then you're basically two players playing Enforcers might have very different specs once they hit level 9. That's the intention. Right. Exactly what kind of options and that kind of stuff. It's something we like, and it's something we want to do. It's not something we've really kind of designed yet, but that's basically the way we want to go with the level ups, is to have something like that.
Yeah, honestly, I think I know there's been a big cry from some people for, I want to change my loadout mid-match because I took X weapon, but they're flying Y ship, and so X weapon sucks. I think that kind of system, if you tie that into maybe 1 or 2 of like the core abilities for the ship, say maybe weapon and your right mouse button, that would give people some flexibility so that they might not feel as screwed over if they get kind of quote unquote hard countered.
I think one of the problems we've got right now is the fact that we don't have a kind of pre-game system in place where you're kind of grouped with your team. You're taking, or maybe you're doing blind pick, or maybe you're doing some kind of draft pick, and you can see what the opponents are picking, and then you're all locked in, and then you get to choose your loadouts to react to what your opponents have picked, and then you'll go into the game. Because we don't have that part yet, and because we're just we just have the server browser system, it's definitely hurting that aspect of the game where actually one thing that I was thinking that might make that system a lot smoother, and just in the meantime until we get the matchmaking in place, is if we simply just hid what the opponent, the other team are picking until you go and to actually kind of start the game, because right now one of the problems we've got is people are kind of counterpicking each other right until the last second of that pre-game section, and it's a bit rude, to be honest. if we can make it so people can't be rude, then it would be better.
That brings up another point. I don't want to bring away from the map talk for a moment, but I would like to discuss this as well. As it sits right now with the counterpicking, there's a couple things that no one wants to see happen. Like if you're playing a disruptor or a frigate or a equalizer and everything else is fine, and you see that one little tick, infiltrator, it just becomes, why am I playing this ship? Because it's still in that one place where the drones are near enough inescapable, and you're going to be hit by this large AoE, and you kind of shoves a lot of the smaller ships out of contending with one ship.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the fact that not only are those drones stacking up the damage to make it do more damage to you, but they are also actively slowing you.
Yeah, it's the slow that really hurts.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Willis?
I would be inclined to agree with you. I personally the abilities that really kind of that I feel like we need to be that we need to be careful with are abilities that do kind of durations of crowd control. So drones that could potentially indefinitely slow someone if they're not using their point defense are pretty frustrating. And yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think there's definitely a place for crowd control in our game. But yeah, I think we need to be really careful about when we're using it, and it's the thing that causes frustration for players. I think personally, my philosophy is like if we can give more abilities that will buff teammates than abilities that debuff enemies, then those are generally more exciting. Like you empower one of your buddies so he takes like 50% damage or something and has supercharged weapons, and suddenly the enemy team are like, oh my god, avoid that dude, he's going crazy. So you kind of get that element of excitement, whereas if you have a similar ability that might affect the game in a similar way, like make that dude take double damage and make his abilities do half damage, and suddenly that guy's having no fun, and it has a very similar effect on the game. It's just a very different psychology to it, you know.
Right.
Sorry, I'm just talking philosophy now. But in terms of the infiltrator, I personally, my thoughts, I would be inclined to agree, but I know a lot of people love it. We definitely needed something to keep smaller ships in check, but
check them too hard.
It's a tough question. I'm not sure what the company line is on this one, but I mean, personally, I find those ion drones annoying as hell when they're on me, so I would agree.
Yeah, then let's go ahead and disclaimer now. Any opinions by Willis are merely representative of his thoughts and are in no way representative of the thoughts of Edge Case Games as an entity.
Cop out.
Cover everybody's ass here.
So go back to the map for a second. I had a question for you, Willis. In that old, now removed sneak peek we got many moons ago, and I remember I actually started to post on this, and you had some comments. I just kind of want to get an update on it. The removal of the mining stations from your home base, it really felt empty in there, other than the big one boss. Are you still going to have more things from the other sectors to bring them in to kind of tie that scaling back in, and to give us like cover or something a little more interesting than giant terrifying gun?
Well, at the moment, there's kind of like there are asteroids around the station. The station's actually a lot bigger than it was previously. So yeah, the station is definitely the dominating kind of centerpiece of the sector. It's pretty big. But yeah, around it there's asteroid cover and stuff to approach through. In terms of forward stations and having elements of forward station shields on there, that was something that we thought about. But yeah, right now it's kind of stripped back to the main kind of the structure of the home base. It's like this kind of main core with a giant cannon in it, and the cannon's kind of set back inside that core, and it's got quite a limited fire arc. And then out of that core, it's kind of got these 3 support arms, which are then supporting these circles, which also kind of frame the arc of fire of the main cannon. So you kind of have to go inside the rings to take on the cannon, and the cannon can shoot you. And then around the cannon, there's like these 3 batteries of turrets as well, which kind of fire out pretty high damage, kind of. burst fire. It's not desperately accurate, but volleys of kind of smaller shots, and they scale up in damage as they travel. So for destroyers and snipers who are going to sit a long way back and not get hit by much, they'll be taking more damage per hit.
The BLR cannon's coming back. Yes!
So are you saying that you have essentially jerry-rigged a bunch of enforcers to a front of a station?
It's kind of like that, yeah. They're I guess, yeah, they do kind of spray a bit like enforcers, and then there's the triple shot LR cannon inside. The main cannon now, it kind of fires 3 rapid shots and then charges, and then fires 3 rapid shots and then charges. Yeah, and that's hitting for, at the moment it's at 1500 of damage per shot, and I might bump that up a little. But yeah, that gets massively reduced as you level up.
It's going to bring a few owies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds kind of terrifying, actually.
It's once you get to a level where you're taking it on, that's pretty much reduced by about half. So yeah, it'll bust your armor in the first few shots.
So a good question on that: how real is the frigate rush going to be?
Yeah.
For that scenario.
That's a very good question. Yes, there are certain things in the new design which are definitely exploitable in various ways. Yeah, the frigate rush might be a possible thing. You might be able to shield yourself from the base damage, but if the defending team are actually doing anything about it, then I don't think that's going to be a problem. Yeah, one of the things that I very quickly realized was any kind of base sort of turret that you're defending that's also helping you deal damage doesn't need to be very strong. So yeah, like late game, you'll just be able to kind of walk all over these things.
Okay.
It's very much going to be about, yeah.
The general idea now is that you have to destroy only one point on the enemy base in order to win. And it's heavily defended, but basically it streamlines everyone into one spot on the map. So even if the base is very big, you have to go towards the center of it, and there's that core that needs something to open it, and then you shoot it. But it focuses the action in some one place geographically, right?
Yeah, that's the intention, and it pulls the attackers into like the danger zone, the arc of fire of all these turrets if they want to take on the main core. So yeah, that's the intention. Just focus the fights. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there a reason then for making the bases much larger than they are now? If in the one spot.
They're not much larger than the ones we have now. Actually, thinking about it, the ones we have now are huge. Basically, if you take the one we have now and rotate it 90 degrees, so it's on its front, the front rings are probably about that wide, but it's a lot longer and then a lot thinner at the back. So it's a different shape, but yeah, it's...
I want to say it was referenced as the base design was inspired by a stool, a bar stool.
Oh yeah, the actual... That was awesome, yeah. So we've been working on, like Ginger Gladiator, our lead artist, he's been trying to work out how we were going to make this giant, believable structure and how would they build this thing. And then he found this really, really cool kind of like almost sci-fi designer stool that has this really, really cool kind of lattice framework on the inside. It's like this really elegant, like nice, smooth, curved, plastic sculpted design with this really crazy kind of structure on the inside. And yeah, that's what's inspired our station, and it looks really cool.
Nice.
Wow. A chair station.
Yep, chair station.
But yeah, I mean, for the version that I'm hoping that if all goes well, if we're actually going to get a load of the little kinks ironed out, I want to get this out at least onto the kind of the vet servers, sort of hopefully by the end of the month. But the first version of the map isn't going to have any kind of new gamma. Gamma is as it was right now. It's got a sun underneath it, but it's still the old station in the old capture zone. Gamma is going to come later.
Any plans on using missiles in these new defensive systems, like on the forward stations or in the new base?
Yeah, that's on my wish list. Right now, I can only put one weapon system on a turret platform. But the wish list is I also want to put like a low level of point defense on there, so it might take out one or two of the missiles that you fire at it, and also sort of missile systems. So it'll fire its volley, and then maybe it'll fire a volley of missiles at you, and then it'll fire its sonic turbo lasers again. But yeah, right now, just to keep things clean, they don't have these missile systems. But I think, to be honest, that's probably going to be part of the answer to solving stuff like snipers and destroyers who can sit half a map away and take things out. But yeah, it's interesting. Right now, the destroyer is definitely having a good time against forward stations. You can sit on the middle mining facility, and then the forward stations, like the hexagonal shields on the front, they're all destructible now. So you can literally just take out most of the forward station from the center of the map as a destroyer.
Wonderful.
Now,
That'll breathe new life into it and give it a lot more gameplay time and make it fun again.
I've been having a lot of fun with the destroyer recently. Maybe I think a lot of it
In the live branch.
Yeah, I think maybe it's because people are playing lots of Leviathans.
yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Flagship seeing to come back too, so destroyers kind of having a heyday with killing all its brother heavies.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you. Returning to the fact that the forward station is going to be basically completely destructible, is that going to create more opportunities for our support ships to say, oh, okay, we need this shield back up, so let's heal. Let me use my heal beam on the shield regeneration point or whatever on the server, or maybe station, not server.
I mean, that's kind of what we're playing around with and working out at the moment, because when you take down these the jump inhibitors, the cores of these forward stations, then in the last test we did, basically it would shut down, and after 30 seconds it would start regenerating, and then it would take a minute to regenerate. So it would only open the routes for 90 seconds. That proved to be way too short. So I think what we're going to do next is we're going to bump that up. I think I might even bump it up as high as 3 minutes. But we're also we've got a bit of code in there now which will allow nearby allies to accelerate the healing. And so we'll have like this delay of, let's say, 30 seconds before it starts healing, and then all the time after that we can accelerate by nearby allies. So what I'm thinking is each ally who's there will halve the time that's required. So 2 allies will make it 25%. So yeah, then if that's, let's say, 2.5 minutes, then you get 2 people jumping back to recapture it. You can recapture it in, what's that, just over 30 seconds. Maybe that's, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass right now. But yeah, the idea is that, yeah, we'll have a pretty similar kind of feeling to the way the live map is, in that you're jumping out, you're sitting on the station to recapture it. We were talking about having sort of corvettes and disruptors being able to heal these things up, but we really think it's important that anybody can. I don't think that you should be restricting that to certain classes being able to do that. So yeah, we're going to get in this recapture mechanic. Hopefully that will be what we need. I think that will bring it more in line with the way the game flows right now. And yeah, for sure, I think the corvette beams can be used on these things before they go down. Or they can be used on the turrets, I think, right now. That's something we need to think about, though. We may well have very different healing rates on space defenses versus player ships, for example. Maybe you'll only be able to heal up 5% of a turret versus 20% of a player, for example. But right now, the turrets don't have very much health either. They've only got about 10k of health, and that still seems to be plenty. It's more about the time it takes to take these things down than anything. And they're all set up so that if they get left alone for a little while, they'll very slowly heal back up, like 1% every couple of seconds or something. It's not very much, but yeah, if you leave them alone for a few minutes, they'll heal up.
Okay, so there's an important question. So now you have to destroy the enemy forward base instead of capturing it. Does it mean you can't heal up there at the moment?
Yeah, well, the current version that we are testing, your forward station and your enemy's forward station, because they don't change hands, yeah, you now have to, once you've taken out the enemy forward station, if you want to heal up before you want to attack, you kind of have to jump back to your own forward station before you do that. Yeah.
But we can now do that from their forward station back to our own in lane.
Yes, you can just jump straight back to your own forward station. So it's not as inconvenient as I'd feared it would be, but yeah, that's definitely a part of the strategy that has changed. But it also means that you're not actually sitting like right next to their jump in points while you're healing.
And really is camp their forward base now.
Well, you can camp it so that you can keep taking down the inhibitor over and over. The one thing that it has changed is the fact that right now there's no back capping. You can't jump in behind the enemy's forward stations while they're up. If they both come up and you're in their home base, your only jump out is your jump home. So that's kind of changed things a little, because now you actually have to push down a lane to take the forward stations. There's none of those sneaky kind of take a lane, jump in, then jump out, take the other lane, and then you've got the whole map. There's none of that.
So question on that. If you're in the enemy's home base and you have a forward station captured, can you still jump back to that forward station?
Yep. Yeah, basically the forward station, it locks. I think there's 5 jump points around the enemy's end of the lane, which it controls, and then 2 jump points in their home base sector. And all of those, basically, as long as the inhibitor's alive, then they're locked to you, and if it's dead, then they're open to you. So if you've taken out both the inhibitors, you can jump to anywhere on the map.
Okay, and one more question. One more question expanding upon that. If you're in the enemy home base, can you jump to, say, Beta 2, where you originated from? Or do you still have to keep with the old constraints of you're in the forward enemy base and you want to jump to their forward station? Or can you go clear across the lane?
You have to, like, the sector you're jumping from to the sector you're jumping to, you have a set amount of jump points that you can jump to from that sector. So if you're jumping from your home base to Alpha, for example, there are 4 around the end. There's like 2 behind your forward station and 1 either side of your forward station that you can jump to.
Okay.
Whereas if you're jumping from Warp, you can only jump to the 2 behind your forward station. Warp's basically where it's spawning. If you're jumping from Gamma, you can jump to the one beside the forward station and another one that's a bit further forward, and then 2 on the enemy's side as well, but they're locked if their forward station is up. So there's it's not massive amounts of options, and it's been really interesting. The thing that's been driving the placing of these jump points more than anything is having them nicely spaced and nicely laid out on the minimap. It's because I was playing around putting them nicely spread, so I put this one right by the forward station here, so when you jump in and then you look at where it is on the minimap and it's a little bit wonky compared to all the others and it looks terrible, so I've ended up having to shift stuff about and make the minimap look right. Which that wasn't how I was expecting to go about doing it, but I don't know, it's pretty cool. But the jump points are in now, and I think they're working pretty well, so I'm now going to kind of rework the asteroids and get some nice flow coming out of those jump points, so you've got nice framing on the kind of the objectives, the forward stations and the mines and things like that when you're coming out of the jumps. So just build the level around the jump points rather than the other way around.
Well, some of the jump points have like a different height you come into the sector at, so if I jump to this particular one by my forward base, I'm going to actually be a little higher up on my opponent.
Right now, no. I mean, one thing that's not working right now that we need to get fixed is a certain amount of randomization on where you're coming into a jump. So the jump points are going to be kind of like a vague jump target, and then you'll be jumping somewhere within, let's say, 5k of that point. So yeah, once we've got some randomization in there, I have noticed once or twice when a sniper knows exactly where you're going to be jumping in, because it's not randomized, then they'll just be lined up on the jump in point, and it can be really, really, toxic and annoying. But they can do that. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. So I don't hold it against them. We need to stop them being able to do that. That's on us. So yeah, randomize just some kind of just randomization of where a ship is going to be coming out of a jump is definitely on the cards. And yeah, hike does come into that, but no is the answer to your question in terms of are there like high jump points, low jump points. It's definitely something we could think about for sure. I'm just trying to think about how we'd actually communicate that on the map. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility. But at the moment, all of the jump points are pretty much kind of at the mid-level of the map.
Okay. So with the randomization, I guess my first thought is that respawn bug where you can appear at a jump point or at the actual base respawn, and another large ship. It usually happens with heavies. You'll spawn on top of each other, and both your ships will wig out and flop around for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's not supposed to be happening either. It's weird. It seems like we've got like these boxes around the spawn points which check to see if there's anybody in that box before anything spawns there, and it does seem like sometimes that check seems to say, hey, there's nothing here, and there's a flagship there. So yeah, there's definitely something wrong there.
So that box is like the same one we get for the blink indicator on Hunter?
Pretty much, yeah, except for the initial spawns, they're about the size of a flagship, or about the size of a flagship. For the jump points, they're actually big squares, because we have to be able to support a ship facing any direction on those.
Yeah. So another thing we talked about as a community quite a while ago was removing the jump home button in general with the new tactical map, and instead you just click one of the jump points in your home base and it will take you straight there. So
and that counts as jump home.
Yeah. Well, that's how it's working now, but I think the idea, and I think it was Stanith who was kind of thinking this, I don't remember, it's been a while, was that we just get rid of jump home and you're instead jumping to
This is my idea. I've suggested it. People don't like this idea.
Please continue. I've not heard this idea.
Well, I suggested something radical a while ago, which was, how about we just get rid of the cooldown on jump and we get rid of jump home? So you can always jump, but the risk to using jump is the warm-up time, the damage that you take. So it's always going to be that tactical thing. You can't use it, or it's bad to use it in certain situations. But it would just really speed up mobility around the map. It would allow people to like a lot of the time, a quick transition between alpha and beta in the live map is jump home and then jump to alpha when you're in beta, for example. And it just seemed like it would be more interesting if you could just jump home, jump to beta, or jump to gamma, jump to beta. Part of it was you'd see a lot more of gamma. Part of it was, I don't know, it's just having two separate cooldowns for two separate jump drives doesn't necessarily sit right with me. The one thing that the cooldown on the jump drive does do is, once those jump routes open up, like once the forward station is captured, it does put some kind of delay on people who jump into alpha or whatever to jump forwards. Then they can't necessarily catch up with their buddies quite as fast, because they've got to wait for the cooldown. But yeah, I don't know. I quite like the idea of. just yeah.
What do you think about
Merging
the
jump.
idea of just being able to jump from alpha to beta, so I don't have to go home when my team all goes the same lane.
Yeah, that's been suggested in the past. Personally, I think I quite like the separation of them. I quite like the fact that it does take a little while to respond to stuff that's happening in the other lane. You can't just jump in, but I do really like those moments where you have ships jumping in all around you, and you're like, oh crap, and or you've got your buddies jumping in around you, and you're like, hey, just in time, and you've got the audio's going off, and it's you get some really epic fights. So I'm hoping that the new jump system, with the new jump points and allowing people to jump in closer to fights and things like that, will make that stuff cooler. Will make more of that stuff happen. But yeah, I jumps from alpha to beta, and I not having those available means that we can do cool things with, like the jump beacon for the Leviathan, for example, which I'd originally penned for the equalizer, and I'd quite like to see it on the equalizer, even though, well, it would be very strong on a fast ship. But those kind of abilities, I think they're going to be really interesting when you've got these limits on how you can respond, and then suddenly these abilities allow you to respond that much faster in interesting and new effective ways. Then those abilities are cooler, you know.
Returning.
Now,
oh, go ahead.
something I'd like to ask, because again, on the separation of alpha and beta, you were talking before that the new map is going to allow you to drastically change skyboxes and environments and really make it feel like a separate section of the galaxy that you're currently in, or whatever star field you're fighting. It's going to have different planets, it's going to have a different skyboxing characteristics. Have you gotten to play with any of that yourself yet, or is it all just initial?
We've got the kind of the first pass on the tech that's allowing us to split the map into all of these separate maps and still kind of have logic feeding between them. So that's ready. But right now I'm holding fire on actually splitting it. Partly because we haven't yet got our environment artist, so we don't actually have the assets to make the most of all of this stuff yet. Anyway, and partly because I want to get the map kind of fairly solid before doing any crazy techie stuff like splitting it and dealing with all of the fallout of the problems with that. So yeah, that's kind of on the back burner for now. We've got the code that's needed for the logic to feed between stuff, but yeah, getting the map playing right now, and yeah, once we've got an environment artist on board and we start getting the assets in, then that's when it really becomes an important thing for us to do.
Oh, wonderful! Can't wait to see that in the future.
But yeah, the plan is, well, my wish list involves things like a separate set of asteroids for every sector, nice skyboxes for each sector. I really want to light the sectors kind of different mood lighting for each one. Maybe we'll have, like, I've whacked in a bunch of giant orange point lights at the bottom of Gamma with the sun right now, and so all of the ships are lit by this kind of glowing orange light near above the sun.
Is it getting really raycasty in there yet?
No, not yet, because well, I suck at lighting. I've just whacked these big lights in, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm glowing orange," and it looks horrendous. But yeah, this is going to look cool when an artist does it.
then kind of on that, I would like to put an opinion out there. I think Alpha would do really well with a bright white style sun light thing in it.
For Alpha specifically, I almost want to see it kind of murky and swampy. I don't know why. It's always been a kind of a swampy, cavernous feeling to me.
Okay.
So
that's similar to what I was thinking, where, like, since you've got such the huge asteroids there with the really hard white light, you would have very contrasting points of, okay, you're behind an asteroid, it's really freaking dark. Okay, you're in the sun, it's really freaking not.
Mm. And one of the things Mad Cat Style, he's our CEO, he's really keen for us to do. He talks about it every now and again, and it's something I'd like to do at some point. Is maybe having like multiple different versions of alpha and beta, and then at the start of the game they're kind of randomized. So maybe we'll have some that are really kind of dense and thick asteroid fields where close range ships are at a great advantage, and then maybe some are more open where snipers kind of have a field day, but you don't actually know which ones you're getting until you get into the game. That's something that he's quite keen on, and obviously they wouldn't be totally geared towards certain playstyles, but we could mix things up. We could have different, maybe even eventually we'd have different versions of like central sectors, so maybe it wouldn't always be this gamma boss, maybe it'd be a different kind of boss, and I don't know, that's something that he's quite keen on. So it's something that we're thinking about for the future, but I think once we get this map out of the way, tutorials have to be the absolute priority.
Cap those stations.
Asteroids moving.
I would argue one thing on that note of map randomization. For people doing competitive play, it's very important for us to know where those asteroids are, to know how to use the map to our advantage. And if we're left with variables of, okay, this ship composition works because I know I can have cover in this lane. Like if I'm taking a brawler and we're going to beta. The beta lane right now is made for a brawler. There's so much to hide behind. There's so much you can get behind to just kind of finagle yourself up close to an enemy. And then alpha is so wide open, the brawler is kind of like, I'm going to shimmy up behind this gas station and wait. Just this one.
Yeah. No, for sure. So I think, if we were ever to go that way and have multiple versions, then obviously the way I see the game working eventually is very much like when you're creating games in League of Legends. You can go into your rank queue or your queues, and you go onto the standard map, and you got matchmaking, all that kind of stuff, and then you've got your custom games which are used for setting up tournament games and that kind of stuff. And in those custom games, then you'll be able to say, okay, alpha is going to be alpha and beta is going to be, let's say, zeta or whatever, and then gamma is going to, and then that's our map for it. You'd be able to decide all of that stuff for sure in a custom game for a tournament thing if we did go that way.
So something a bit like how StarCraft has, when you jump into the normal matchmaker queue, you get one of the selection of maps, but when you actually sit down for a competitive match in a real tournament, you're basically voting on different maps and selecting which ones you want, and that way you have that advance notice.
Yeah,
that would actually add a lot of spice to watching individual tournament matches. I mean, even if ideally like you had those two potentially varying sectors,
just
on
thinking out loud,
either side of the map.
If there were enough of them as options, you could even like have maybe each team bans a sector, and then each team picks a sector.
That would
that would be interesting.
Yeah,
Now,
have that be part of the draft style tournament. And
I don't want to interrupt the brainstorm here, but Willis did say a very hot button word, and that's matchmaking.
Yeah. No, you guys sneaking that one in.
Official word is end of August for the first pass.
Okay.
And what was your general hope to see for matchmaking when we do get to that?
Me?
Yes, you. Like, what do you feel about matchmaking? Because we all know it's going to be a very bare bones system when it comes into play, and we're gonna deal with it how we deal with it.
It's I want to see a nice, easy system to use. So you'll at the moment, I know the UI guys are working hard on being able to join as groups and all that kind of stuff, and how the flow of all that goes. And okay, so if I'm the leader of the group, do we all have to click OK before we can queue, and all this kind of stuff. And basically, the general kind of inspiration for that side of things has been very much the way they do things in League of Legends, because it's just really clean and simple in there. It's
it's very straightforward.
Like, I'll invite these guys to my group. Okay, that guy's got a friend. I'll let him invite. Okay, we're all good to go. I click go. Queue's popped. We all click OK, and now we're in the game. Yeah, it's basically that I want the matchmaker to work a lot. The front end side of things. League of Legends is a perfect model, the way they get into games. In terms of how it matchmakes people, it's a really tough thing. I'm not entirely sure what it's taking into account right now, but there are an awful lot of ways to approach various parts of it. But I think, like, just for a first pass, just a very, very first pass, I think ideally it would just match people who've got a similar amount of experience in the game to each other, and ideally you wouldn't be seeing captains in games with admirals and things like that. It was a really interesting article I was reading by Blizzard about their matchmaking in Hearthstone, and one of the problems with matchmaking is when you've got quite a small player base, it can take quite a long time to find appropriate matches. And yeah, it was talking about basically you kind of have to have timeouts where you'll say, okay, for the first 3 minutes, I'm going to try and find the perfect match. And if those 3 minutes go past and then it hasn't found a perfect match, maybe it'll try and find a less than perfect match, but still not too bad. And then maybe after 6 minutes, it's like, okay, this guy hasn't found a game yet. I'm just going to throw him into the first game I can find. So even the best matchmaking systems, no matter how perfect the system is, if you don't have the player base there to support it, you're still going to end up with bad matches, and you're also going to end up with long queues. So it's going to be interesting. I hope that it's tuned enough that it doesn't have big queues, but it also doesn't create too many bad matches. But yeah, I'm trying to be realistic about what we can achieve with a relatively small player base. But yeah, hopefully if it just makes getting into games really nice and smooth for people and allows people to join as a group with their friends and get matched against a group, that's great for now.
Smite now uses a system where you queue in and you'll just sit in the queue until it finds you a match. But they used to use a system where instead of it looks for a match, it says, okay, everybody's going to queue. At the 3-minute mark, we're just going to take everybody who is in this queue right now and make the best matches we can out of, the players available, and then just, spit out all those games at once. And I think part of the reason that they did that was, well, they weren't as popular. They didn't really have the player base to support your standard matchmaking.
Yeah, breaking everyone up.
As the game becomes more popular and you've got more players kind of queuing up at the same time, then it's easier to find those nice matches in a shorter amount of time, and you can start making the matchmaker a little bit more picky about the matches it creates. But yeah, I think the stage we're at, it's going to be fairly rough, and we're still going to end up with quite a skill variance in games for sure. But I think the big thing for me is just being able to join as a group, and for other people to join as groups, and have those organized group games.
So a little more on Matchmaker. I know you were thinking about, or I guess the plan is to do it based off their experience and not have an actual like ELO system. But down the road, is there a plan to do like ELO or some other variant of a proper calculation?
I would.
And would you know what they're leaning towards?
I wouldn't be able to confirm, but I would say I am pretty sure. Yes, absolutely. It's working out how to measure it. That's the thing, and working out what value we put on different things, how much value we put on different actions in the game, how much value we put on the damage you've done in each game versus it's definitely something I think a good matchmaker needs. You can't just base it on experience, because there's people who've been playing League of Legends for 4 years, and there's people who've been playing League of Legends for 2 months who are just as good. So, yeah, it's it's Elo is definitely something we're going to need to track, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what the plans are, to be honest with you, but
it's going to be a very interesting journey.
It is. Something I would really like to see myself is, again, another League of Legends reference. I hate to use so many to reference your guys' game as well, but a ranked team queue would also be nice for, people that have competitive teams now, Loa, Phoenix, IBP, Honey Badgers, what have you, being able to queue as a 5-man team to go fight another 5-man team queue, and then have a ranking system based on that as well.
Yeah. I think that's the goal. I mean, we've always very much wanted to be focused on it. I mean, the entire focus is it's a team game. It's not really designed as something that 5 randoms can just get together and play effectively. It's pretty much all of the ships have got very much team-based ability. So yeah, for sure. That was always the end goal, was to try and support this kind of stuff with the gameplay, and then if the demand was there, then we'd support with the actual kind of competitive features as well. So yeah, it's what people are asking for. So yeah, it'll come
in time.
To be honest, same deal. I've always seen the matchmaking and the kind of the custom games and the rank queue. I've always seen the way our game works, or the way our game could work, as very much the kind of the League of Legends model in terms of that stuff.
They
just with spaceships and lots of space.
Yeah. Different game, but fairly similar structure in a lot of ways.
They've done a lot of good things in certain areas, and why not be inspired?
I'm a horrendous League of Legends addict, so I don't think there's any shame in saying, hey, that game's awesome.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. They have a good model. I'm sure we've spent a shameful amount of money on skins, as I'm sure I will probably do in Fractured Space as well. Good segue there as well. But yeah, it's wonderful. Something we did want to talk about, if we're all happy with our questions for matchmaking, is skins and upcoming ships.
Pink Assassin.
Do you guys want to get into that, or do we have any other stuff we need to talk about? Matchmaking map, we good on those?
Ship balance, maybe.
Kill those two, but
always a hot topic.
Okay,
let's just skins before we get the balance.
First. Yeah, the fun. Let's do the fun ones first. Okay, so there's a new fancy ship coming up. We've gotten a little gray preview of it on Twitter, and that's the Pioneer. Do you have any little teasers you can give the community?
The Pioneer. Right now, it has an ability. The philosophy behind all of we're currently working on loadouts for the 3-starter ships, and the philosophy behind them is they need to be really easy to use. So there's not going to be any of the complex systems. So there's unlikely to be fighters or bombers. We're probably going to keep them as relatively simple. So their main left click, right click weapons will be fairly simple weapons. I think the TDS ship will have a certain amount of homing on its shots. I think the Zarek shot ship is maybe going to have a right mouse cannon that strips armor, and then a left mouse sort of scalpel laser that deals extra damage to broken armor. So there'll be a bit of that kind of stuff going on, but they'll be relatively simple to use weapons. Each of them's also going to have an AoE. So the ones penciled in right now, the Pioneer has a little AoE that Any allies hit by it, it boosts their damage a little bit, but the main thing is to reduce the damage dealt by enemy ships. I'm a little worried about that as a debuff, just damage reduction. But that's something we're talking about at the moment. The TDS one it's a little bit like a boost gate in that it speeds up allies who get caught in it. And the Zarek one, I'm pretty sure it's a stealth detect that also takes out missiles, which is an interesting one. Yeah, but they're literally just like kind of first pass. The guys have just been working on them this week, but the intention is to keep them relatively simple. So they'll have an AoE that's centered on their own ship, they'll have a missile system, they'll have 2 main weapons, and then they'll have another ability that's relatively simple to use. So the one the Pioneer's got right now for its third ability is literally just press it, it lets out a pulse that spots enemies. It doesn't do stealth detect, but it's got a super long range and it spots enemies on the minimap. Then I think we were talking about maybe giving one of them a boost and one of them a shield or something like that. Just a button that you only have to hit. You don't need to have stuff targeted. You don't have to call your fighters back to use them or anything like that. It's just simple to use stuff is the intention.
So what you're saying is there's going to be 3 new starter ships that will replace the Hunter, the Corvette. Not replace, but just bump out the tech tree a little bit for the TDS Zarek. And
they'll fill that first tier, and they're all going to be kind of mid-sized ships, so about the size of like brawlers, hunters, that kind of size. And I mean, it's something that I've been saying that I've wanted to see for a while is some kind of normal soldier ships, if you know what I mean. None of the funky blinks
basic.
Nothing
I've got a gun. I'm going to go over there and shoot things.
Yeah. And so I think these are going to kind of fill that kind of role. They're going to be pretty simple to use. They're going to have guns on them that you shoot, missiles on them that you shoot, a little AoE, and then another thing. So yeah. I think they're not going to add anything new to the mix, but I think they're going to
dilute the water a little bit.
Yeah, and almost fill in some spots that we haven't filled yet because we've been doing the funky, interesting things rather than the more normal things.
Then, kind of on that, since these are meant to be the starter ships, has there been any talk about having all of these kind of hit at once? Since they're not really meant to shake things up, they're meant to be a hey, this is our game style ship.
I'm not entirely sure on what the plan is for when they're coming out, but as I understand it, which might be totally wrong, yes, we were intending to drop all 3 of those at once.
Okay. That would be that would be good to have all those out there and healthy before, I don't know, maybe another dreaded free week or something.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I like about these 3 being kind of mid-sized ships is that we don't have enough mid-sized ships right now. We've got a few, but we've got a few heavies, but we have an awful lot of small nimble ships. And I personally would like to just slow the game down a little with a few more slower, bigger ships. I like the bigger, slower ships. They feel more Star Destroyer-y.
Yeah. And definitely having those stations that we need to siege is going to help that out quite a bit.
You say that the big challenge that I've been finding with getting these base defenses balanced is the small ships, because the small ships are nimble and they can kind of get aggro of a turret but then dodge most of the shots, which is awkward.
Yeah, because then it's like, okay, you can let's just do magic hit scan scalpel beam turrets, but then those are kind of just.
I think Architect's suggestion, which is what I'm wanting to push towards very soon, is getting missiles on the turrets, because once there's stuff that you can't dodge, there's going to home on you, and maybe that stuff does more damage over distance. So if you're sniping it from half the map away, it's going to hit you with mega missiles. That might be interesting. yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't tried yet. But yeah, it's starting to feel good. But yeah, we still haven't got all the pieces in.
Now, the next thing we had to address was you said you were working on some more loadouts. Was that just the loadouts for the starting ships, or are you guys starting to expand upon the rest of the ships as well?
At the moment, it's, as far as I know, it's kind of we've got Myrmidon and so we've got James Mitchell. He's our new designer, and I've completely forgotten his in-game name. That's son. Anyway, yeah, Myrmidon and Mitch, they're working on. Well, Mitch is getting to grips with the systems and stuff like that, but he's working on kind of missile systems and things for the new ships at the moment, and Myrmidon's working on the other stuff for the new ships at the moment. Extra loadout options for the existing ships is, as far as I understand the process now, it's kind of like we're not rushing to get in loadout options just for the sake of having loadout options, which I felt we did a little with the first few ships.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a few loadout options on some of the earlier ships that they don't really necessarily give you options, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think loadout options for the ships. I think the mentality now is, if we've got a cool idea and we really want to do it, then we're going to add one. So we got the beacon on the equalizer. I'm not sure if it's actually in the live version yet, but the equalizer's got an alternate main gun now that doesn't have tracking on it, which makes it
That's in live, yeah.
Yeah. That was a much requested thing, just to make them viable against. I personally always found hunters the most annoying thing in the world to fight against with an equalizer, because they could blink and I'd miss like 3 volleys of shots in one go. So yeah, when there's a place for a loadout option, and when we've had cool suggestions for stuff, that's when we're working on them. But yeah, we're not just adding them for the sake of adding them right now. But yeah, I think we're really trying to churn out the ships before we're aiming to release kind of early next year, like go free to play early next year. So the aim is to get, it's over 30. I can't remember the exact number, but we want to get a lot of ships out by the time we go free to play. And there's also a hell of a lot of skins to be worked on as well.
It's going to be quite the momentous task.
Yeah, the artist snowed under right now, but there's you guys have seen the new legendary brawler that's coming out, haven't you?
Oh, it's so pretty.
I haven't.
You have not?
I must look this up now.
I'm not sure if there's any pictures, but it is on one of the archive Twitch streams.
Oh, okay. I'll have to go look that up later then.
Either that, or you can bribe Willis with some more flavorful e-juice and get him to send you a picture of it or something.
Did we not? Was it not in one of the?
No, it was never.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, okay. Well, that's coming very soon. That's sitting there ready to go out very soon.
Ooh.
I know Ginger Gladiator. He's now working on a legendary enforcer. Which is
yay!
Pretty just made Jared's day.
Yes, legendary. Enforcer, Reaper, and now Leviathan. I'm sorry, that's my headcanon, my personal fleet.
The Leviathan is already so wonderful looking, though. I don't know what you do for a legendary skin. It is like a Chinese space whaling ship. It's gorgeous. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not with the Titan skin.
Not baby blue Leviathan. Baby blue Leviathan is something special.
So how do you guys feel about the new skins?
I happen to like them because they're green, and I'm very partial to green. So definitely,
and they've got the edge case logo all over them, which is nice because we love you guys.
And then
suck up.
And then actually specifically on the Revenant Reaper, one thing that I noticed that I really liked was there was that giant plate added to the very top of the ship that just gave it like this smooth slope going up. and it just kind of smoothed out the lines of the ship, and I'm a big fan of that. I
The one thing,
very like the look of stuff that looks very put together, and like you have assembled this piece and you can see the seams, but it looks very solid. I'm a fan of that.
yeah, I really like the idea of just kind of like the way Ginger Gladiator approached it was very much just like you would a body kit on a car.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a kind of a nicely sculpted. It's got kind of little subtle spoilers on the back. It's just a nice kind of almost like a Type R version of the Reaper.
Yeah, and
that was kind of the mentality. I think that worked really well.
Yeah, and that
very pretty.
It really fits within universe too, because I mean these are supposed to be manufacturers making these ships, so ideally they'd be selling them to people. And you know, when you have a business like that where you're making something like that, somebody else is going to pop up and say, hey, you know what, this would look really slick with like this just ridiculous 10-foot spoiler at the back and huge exhaust pipes, you know, that bellows smokes. That's going to happen. So having that in universe is pretty cool. And actually, on that same note, I'm a big fan of the Hunter and the Brawler sharing a very similar look, because you know it's even in the lore, the little lore blurb for the Brawler, it says, yeah, the Hunter was really good, so USR was like, yeah, let's see what we can do with that, you know, and that it makes sense to see this really, you know, well-working design, and you just go, yeah, what can we do with that? Because that's good stuff. So
Makes it a little bit more believable, doesn't it? It's like lots of different people have seen it and have started messing with it and making it better in their own ways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, sorry, continue, Zara.
I was gonna say it just really opens up the opportunity for skins, and that was it.
Now, with the hold on, Brain EXE has stopped working. With all these new fancy skins coming out, there's been talk here and there of the legendary Artemis skin for the Hunter getting maybe a little bit of a rework. Has there been any word on that at all?
Sorry, I was spacing out for a second there.
It's okay. We've all rebooted. We're good. Okay, so repose my question here. There's been talk of the legendary Hunter skin, the Artemis, getting a little bit of a rework here in the future. Has there been any word or talk of that at all, or?
That might have been me saying that I felt like it needed jazzing up a little. There's been talk of it. I don't know what's going on. I think it needs something to make it stand out. It doesn't feel as special as the other legendaries. Maybe it needs some new audio effects or some new weapon effects or something. Maybe it's not model at all. But yeah, I think looking at all of our legendary skins, and premium skins, that one doesn't feel so special, and it's a shame because the amount of work that's gone into making the new model is incredible. I mean, it was no less work to create that than it was the new Reaper. It's just the Reaper is that much more noticeable, and I think that's just something we're learning as we create skins, is that it needs to be noticeable to feel valuable. Right. You know what I mean?
But it's very much so like your first iteration of a legendary. Like it came out, that was your big change to the thing, and League of Legends reference here. It's pretty much the Gentleman Cho'Gath to the Mecha Cho'Gath of the new Revenant, which is absolutely beautiful legendary quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Revenant is going to be our benchmark for those kind of skins from now on. And a huge part of it is the green guns, the green shields. It's like when you're flying that skin with that skin, people know you're using that skin, and it's Yeah, that's kind of the reason people buy skins, isn't it? So that's, I mean, if I'm going to be spending however much on a awesome, like, awesome legendary skin, then I'm going to really hope that other people appreciate it too. It's yeah. That's actually part of the reasoning behind adding this new little warp spawn area where you spawn in warp, because you're spawning in formation with the rest of your team, so you get to admire each other's skins while you're in warp.
Have a little fashion show as we're all going into battle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good thing. Look at my thing. I'm so pretty.
Mm-hmm. Actually, kind of going with the Revenant. It while it was only cosmetic, personally, I really like the fact that it alters the color of your particles, and it makes everything green, and it gives it a little bit of a theme. So I think that might be another way to help help legendary stuff stand apart. You say, okay, everything still functions the same, but you are going to look almost completely different, even down to your particles.
I mean, we've speculated with where we could go with skins in the future, and there's been talk about attachments. So maybe each ship would have, let's say it's got an attachment point on the top, an attachment point on the front, and one on each side, maybe. And then we could sell hats and moustaches.
Yes. Yes.
No.
What?
No,
Fuck.
no,
Fractured hats.
We don't need fractured hats.
Yes, we do. Okay,
There's gonna be a damn destroyer floating down lane with a yellow Willis hat pulled over top of it.
that is. May it be so in the meme thread.
I quite like the idea of like a proper old school pirate ship style frigate, like pirate ship style hull for the frigate, and then maybe
some sails and masts up there.
Yeah, a mast that comes with it. That's like the attachment that bolts in the top, and that's like and then you got your pirate captain and your pirate crew that come with the skin because it's ultimate, and it fires cannons and it's
that would actually be beyond perfect.
That
would be fantastic.
But at the same time, something amazing is still. It's silly, and it brings down the seriousness aspect of the game just that little bit much. And that's the point. You have to ask yourself, do I want a buttload of money for selling these awesome solar sail skins that look like a pirate ship, or do we want to keep the integrity of our game along its design aspect?
I think just an opinion as a player, but I do think there is you can take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, there's a line.
I mean, it's been drummed into me enough since I started here. We've got to establish the lore, we've got to establish the universe, we've got to establish the sensible stuff first before we start thinking about the silly. So it might come at some point in the future, but it'll come in moderation and it won't be too universe breaking. I don't think we'll be seeing like a flying beehive for the flagship with lots of little bees coming out of it.
Alright.
What is this lore you speak of?
Yeah, I heard that word and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, what is our story? Why are we shooting each other? Why are all of the attack ships for the Zarek have cargo containers all over them?
They're shit.
Because we all have baggage.
Yeah, they've still got the stuff they were mining.
We literally just stopped mining to come kill each other.
Too many blows. Actually, he's been working on lore this week. So there's a lot of stuff being written at the moment, and a lot of the justification for what's actually happening in the game is being shaped by the level as it evolves. So I think a lot of the justification is going to come down to exactly what Gamma turns into. For example, I think Gamma's probably going to be the key motivator for these battles that are going on. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be just yet.
Well, maybe
So it's
Gamma
going to be
was
something like
Go ahead.
it's going to be something like, okay, Gamma is this really big important thing, and everyone has built their infrastructures as close to this thing as possible to consume its resources, and that's kind of why the Zerg have all these crazy cargo containers and things, and etc.
Yes, I think it's likely to going to be something along those lines. Yeah. So Gamma's going to be like this crazy bit of alien tech, and these factions are fighting for control over the buff it generates. I don't know.
Lore through
Gotta
lore
get those
through
stat cargo
gameplay.
containers.
But yeah, Gamma. I haven't really talked about Gamma because not much has been happening with Gamma, but the plans haven't changed. It's still the intention is crazy alien Eye of Sauron in space that focuses its beam of light on you and heats you up and makes you die.
That's gonna be fantastic. We need more beam weapons. We do.
Oh, I love I forget the name of it. The crazy
fusion
beam on the Leviathan. I love that
Fusion
thing.
beam.
It's so satisfying.
It is. I was
It
actually.
has noise. It does the thing.
Yes, it is. It is the full package.
Yes.
I was a little sad to jump in on the frigate and see that it was still the pseudo beam and not a proper beam. But
Can we get a special skin for the like a legendary skin for the Leviathan? You know, Super Saiyan with the blonde hair, and it
Yeah.
shouts out Kamehameha whenever you fire the fusion beam.
that would be best.
I mean,
Blonde
I
hair.
already yell out Kamehameha, so I just figure having a ship that does it would save me the effort.
When I was talking before about having hairy ships, everybody looked at me like I was mental. Imagine having a nice, like, flowing Wookiee hair off your ship that's all physicalized and reacts to the incoming shots and stuff. With
Yes.
the
That would
going
be
off,
great.
it goes all static.
That would fit perfectly for if there are ever any kind of like space whale bioship kind of things ever introduced.
I'd like an evil mustache on the front of my assassin, please.
The Leviathan, again, it's one of those things that was done so well. I want to see nothing done to it ever with that laser cannon. Like, there's parts of the ship that I'd change, and we can talk about in balancing later in this conversation. But, we were in a game earlier, and our friend Fujiri was on the other team as an assassin. And there was two of our Leviathans in one lane. Our team was 3 Leviathans, a Corvette, and a Disruptor. Shockingly, we won. So as these 2 Leviathans are fatting their way down the middle of the field, he starts getting shot by one of them at middle mining field. And at this point, I'm already charging my second one. So as he's like, oh, thank God that's over, here comes the second beam and just completely wiped him off the map. And we just hear a very pressed, how many of them are there? It's such a satisfying thing to get a kill with that beam. It is very, very well done, and I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
I want to see more things like that. They're just satisfying to hit something with.
I mean, you're gonna wreck somebody with it, and it's gonna feel great, but you're also not gonna, immediately win by using it.
And I like
So
that it seems to sit in a place between, like, launching a volley of missiles where you're just hitting a button for the possibility of numbers popping over their head, and somewhere between that and the old scythe beam,
Yes.
where you just kind of rolled your eyes when you one-shot the flagship.
You rolled your eyes. I chuckled heartily.
I think the changes to the scythe beam have actually worked out really, really well. I think
It's more of its intended armor shred.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I really like the Reaper these days.
Yeah.
I always felt cheap using it personally. I couldn't live with myself.
Oh.
I didn't.
I always justified it by the fact that you had to get right up, basically next to somebody for you to really get that full effect, unless they were jumping.
It's a good thing it didn't have some ability to block all incoming fire from a direction.
Mm.
On a swivel on the camera.
Yeah. I'm invincible
guess you
from
could put
you
that
right
on.
now. Ha ha. Oh.
Okay, so we've talked about our stuff. Are we finally ready to get to the dreaded balance talk?
Bum, bum, bum.
Can we just end the stream here on a high note? Or?
But no. Like, what are your guys' hot buttons? Like, a takeaway from each of you. What is something giant that you would enjoy to see that would improve the game?
Shutdown and
As far as
repair being completely reworked.
Yes.
Okay, expand upon that. How would you like to see Shutdown and Repair changed up?
Well, right now, like, I've been playing Ranger a lot lately, and I've been trying to find the situations where you can use it. And I have found a few cases where Shutdown and Repair did. It was nice, but it never felt like, haha, I have Shutdown and Repair, you're screwed. And a lot of times where I'll hit Shutdown Repair and the Enforcer jumps in, boosts to me, blinks to me, and one-shots me. And there's literally nothing I can do except stand there and play Pinata. So I've been trying to play with a few different ideas, like toggling it on and off, or just maybe having it immediately break the shutdown effect as soon as you hit full health.
Or just
Something-
make it cancelable at any point. This would be the best case scenario. I mean, if it has a cooldown long enough, like a minute or something, then it's up to you if you want to cancel it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I find it kind of strange that you take more damage while healing in this way, when, for example, the Disruptor could be fully mobile with its healing drones on itself and take even less damage by just
Hitting you with the tech slow and disarming you and being annoying, yeah.
I would even go the other way around. Maybe it should give you a shield while you're repairing.
Mm-hmm.
I could actually see it repairing so sharply. And if it's a case where, it's too sharp, you could have it scale at least so the first few seconds of Shutdown and Repair you can still deal with them. But have it so that if you're about to take a massive burst, like the frigate jumped in and he's just coming at you to drop some mines on your face and let you explode to death, you pop that Shutdown Repair and start stacking up that heal so that you can tank that damage, come out of the repair, and still, be in the fight.
That would be nice, but also, again, we run the small ship issue of what happens when it's too small and fast, and that little quick heal is enough to just make it that much more annoying. Like the spot the Equalizer's in right now. It's very fast, and it's very obnoxious. The little bit of self-heal it does give it a little sustain, even though it's not very much at all, and I kind of would like to see that raised up just a tiny bit. It's still extremely hard to hit. It's still extremely small, and if it had like an instant repair, I don't think I'd even shoot at it anymore.
Well, that's what I'm meaning by like the skill. You have it the same way you repair at a station where it starts off as a very small percentage of your health and slowly
and then
starts to
ramps up
build.
in a bell curve.
Yeah. And that way, so like in that case where, okay, he just stopped moving, I have about 3 or 4 seconds to do the 8,000 or whatever health he's at in damage to him before that repair starts to get out of control and I can no longer kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But at that whole point, though, he's still standing there doing absolutely nothing of any value except possibly slowing down your cap speed. And we could, if that becomes an issue, it could be adjusted. Okay, while you're shut down, you apply no capture power.
That would be pretty decent.
Yeah.
So it still gives, like, the shutdown repair, it does something, and it has something more than I just finished this fight and barely won, so I'm going to hit this and hope nobody on the enemy team jumps in the next 20 seconds.
Yeah, it is kind of the I'm going to kill myself now button, because 20 seconds is a very long time. Very, very long.
Yeah.
And it sticks you there. You can't do anything. You're just basically making yourself respawn. You might as well just fight until you die and then respawn in those 20 seconds.
And it's the thing that gets me is it's because it's a small ship that 20 seconds is a long time. Because a flagship, 20 seconds is nothing, whatever. I mean, you can't even get to the first mining station in 20 seconds with boost.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. It's like you respawning, because I guess you don't actually get 20-second respawn times until about 7 or 8 minutes
4?
into the game at least.
Yeah.
So there's literally 0 point in using it before the 8-minute mark.
Exactly. Just like there's 0 point in going back to heal at your station before like the 8-9 minute mark. It's more efficient to actually die.
Yeah.
And like you use a really long ship ability cooldown, like range boost on the Enforcer. Words are escaping me right now. You use your range boost, 120-second cooldown, and then you have a 15, 20-second respawn lower than that at that start of the game. Well, you're back, and you have your range boost to go right back into the fight.
First minute of the game, you've got a 10-second respawn.
Yeah.
It's
Because I've had those games. I've had those games where there's 2 enforcers on each team, and they really want that middle mining station in beta. Both of them do. So for like the first 3 minutes of the game, there's just wave after wave of enforcers coming in with range boosts, killing each other over and over and over, and just immediately boosting back in, and no one is getting that mining station.
So, do you reckon cooldowns should reset on death?
Yeah,
I think they should carry through
shit.
while you die.
I think they should. I think they should stay. Jump should reset. Jump should reset for sure,
Reset
but
all the
everything
other-
else should stay.
Yes.
So if you've just used your ranged boost and it's still on cooldown,
And
it
you
should still be on
and you
cooldown when you respawn.
and you die. You have made the mistake. You don't get to say, hey, it's the first 2 minutes of the game. I can be an idiot. No, you should.
That would make it better, yeah.
You should pay for your poor tactical decision.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, actually, going back to what you said, Willis, about having no jump time, or no cooldown on jump. That would be okay, but I would still like to see something that would make you pay for jumping a whole lot in a short time frame, other than just the spool up. Maybe make your spool up take longer, because
That's exactly what just sprung to mind when you were saying that.
Yeah,
Just have it incrementally take longer and longer the more you use it in a short period or something.
Yeah, that way, you've still got that mobility, that ability to react, but you are also incurring some sort of penalty. You are being enabled to make a mistake that the other team can capitalize on, which is interesting for everybody. It's, do I jump now? Do I wait 5 seconds? Because maybe my jump won't be as long. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I quite like that. That sounds cool.
Okay.
It would be an interesting balance thing that would be nice to play with it and see if it functions in a real environment.
Yeah. That would also solve the the slicker than grease lightning jumps of the frickin' Corvette.
Yeah.
Ugh,
I'm
that
being
gets really
threatened by.
frustrating.
Yeah.
You looked at me wrong.
I actually had a game yesterday where I had blinked to the Corvette, and he just happened to coincidentally nick me with the last of his smart gun volley right on the nose as I was firing off the ambush volley into him. Reflexively snaps off the disarm and jumps, and there's literally nothing I can do. And I'm sitting here going, that is extremely frustrating.
Yeah. It reminds me of Oh, when the sniper shield blocked all damage, and it was just, oh no, somebody's within 15k of me, better dip. You know.
Especially when the assassin would have spent the entire time slow crawling across the lane.
Oh lord, that
You'd
was
pop
the
the
worst.
ambush, that shield would immediately go off, and there was nothing you could do. That sniper got away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Architect, big gripes from you. What would you like to see changed?
Well, I think it's the same thing I've always wanted to see changed, and it's the enforcer level scaling. So, I think it's a general consensus that it's the most frustrating thing about enforcers right now, because whatever changes get implemented, we have various burst, like number of shots, various modifiers, etc., etc. But they all tend to go the same way. We have the enforcer that's okay in the early game. By okay, I mean, well, it's just all-around balance. But then you go to around level 6 or 7, and the enforcer gets just out of control.
Right, doing 8,000 to 9,000 damage on a heavy.
Yes, and none of the
8,000 to 9,000 damage anywhere.
Yeah, none of the changes have actually addressed this thing, which was the only broken thing in the enforcer, and it's the damage boost it gets per level. Basically, because of the stacking mechanics on the main debuff, the scaling gets better than linear with levels. It's quadratic, maybe exponential, I don't even know. I have forgot the maths I did already, but the idea is that it scales much harder than anything else in the game. So I think the best way to deal with it would be to just revisit the damage boosts that Enforcer gets each level. And then the rest should follow quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm thinking that, and this is just a shot in the dark from some of the other times we've addressed other issues with ships, that the problem is it becomes rounding numbers, where the Escalade itself has such little base damage that increasing it by 1 is a pretty monstrous benefit. So it's kind of the trade-off. And I think it might be the case that it just needs a slight tweak to its scaling, and then we can put some more damage, well, I say we, but more damage can be put into the base damage per shot, and that would allow it to have, basically it would give us more room to have a decimal point.
Yeah, but I don't think it's about the decimal points. Basically, if you add just like 10% of damage each level, then this 10% of damage get multiplied at every point in the calculation, and then they get out of hand. So
I mean, it's definitely something we have separate controls over. We have a separate kind of value that we're using to scale the damage that ships do as they level up.
Yes.
So it's definitely something that we could play with. So at what point in it do you find there's a certain tipping point in the game where the Enforcer suddenly becomes stronger? Because there's, I mean,
Level
in League of
6 to
Legends,
7.
in League of Legends, for example,
Yeah,
Ezreal is really benefiting from this new item that if you get, I think it's 30% cooldown reduction, it means your cooldown of your Q ability is equal to the cooldown of this proc on the new item, which means that you're getting the proc on every single cast, and it's insanely powerful. So that's good. There's kind of like, I'm imagining that there's a specific tipping point with the Enforcer where it suddenly goes from being able to 3-shot people to being able to 2-shot people, and that's kind of where its damage, where its power spike is.
As we just said, level 6 to 7.
Yeah, level 6 to 7 is the general idea, but basically you change it pretty much every patch. So the last patch had this increased volley duration with lower damage, and then you've hotfixed it to revert the changes, etc., etc. Basically, the level at which Enforcer becomes broken varies from around level 5 to level 7 every patch, but the general idea is still the same. It's not some one level at which it suddenly becomes super powerful. It just scales with levels very hard. Basically, every level that you add to the Enforcer is equal to like 3 levels on other ships.
Yeah.
Not 3 but 2.
Cool. It sounds like maybe it just needs its damage multiplier reducing at higher levels a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because right now it is an absolute monster, and once it gets to that level 7 or 8, like when you're getting super endgame, if it gets on top of any small ship, if it gets on top of a frigate, a disruptor, an equalizer, anything, that ship's dead. Just dead in one shot.
And the damage would be okay, but you can't really avoid it, and that's the other problem. The Enforcer synergizes with itself very nicely. I mean, it has only one ability that deals damage, barring for point defense, but all the rest of the abilities are designed to help you land this one damaging ability. And if it's too good, then it's a problem. For example, Brawler can output tons of damage, whatever. It could become absolutely broken, level 9, whatever. Brawler can be avoided, and the Enforcer can't. So that's why the problem presents itself to your face much more often than it would in case of other unbalanced abilities or other cases of too much damage. Even the old side thing wasn't that bad because it actually required the Reaper to go into your face, and that's a problem. And the Enforcer can deal this damage as long as it hits the necessary level, anytime, always.
I think as long as we're seeing 2 Enforcers on every single team in the tournament, we know that it's a little bit too strong.
Yeah.
So the other thing, I mean, I could ask you guys, what do you think about the new fast and normal regular cannons for the Hunter? I tried to test them extensively because I was quite a fan of the faster cannons back in the days when they were actually more powerful, and they're still kind of lacking. First, they give me terrible vertigo from trying to aim them. They're way too fast. I mean, the heavy cannons, the turning speed is quite okay. It's enough for every scenario. And when you get this incredible turning speed with fast cannons, that really does not help you very much because the normal regular cannon's turning speed is completely enough for most cases. It's the same trade-off where everybody that has, in POX that has tried the fast cannons, they just switched back to the heavy cannons after playing with them for a while. And we don't have this option of Hunter being something that gets in your face and uses the advantage from this in-your-face scenario. Now,
I actually have a different perspective on that for this one, as I extensively tested them as well and had my fun with them. I enjoyed their turn speed very much, being able to realign quickly after a quick blink and put the damage immediately on target to where you can do it basically twice as fast as heavy cannons. That was nice. What I did not enjoy was it is still completely and utterly outclassed by heavy cannons. The damage multiplier on the heavy cannons is nuts. It's where it should be. I'm not saying nerf the damage on the heavy cannons because it needs it. It's the only way it can contend with brawlers. It's the only way it can contend with enforcers or flagships or anything like that. Actually, it might be a little strong against flagships because that is heavy. But still, it needs that damage. But if you get in a fight with a heavy cannon hunter versus a fast cannon hunter with blink, the heavy cannon hunter is going to win every single time if it's a good player. And even if it's a good player in the fast cannon, heavy cannon's going to win every single time. There's no outplay ability there. There's no, I can blink around you really quickly. It's the heavy cannon's going to land one shot on you in broken armor and deal 2,200 damage. And your little 500 damage ticks every once in a while that can possibly miss are not going to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see the damage brought up on the faster blaster, maybe not faster blaster, but the faster cannon, just a little bit. Bring it up into the scope of the heavy cannon, to where the DPS is nearly the same, but they have different applications.
I mean, now their theoretical DPS is the same, pretty much. But,
yeah, I mean it's still a problem
because of the range drop-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played around with the faster cannon for a while, and I think I did 4 or 5 matches with the heavy cannon quick blink combo, and I know that there are some of the more experienced players in the community who are just swearing by it, but after those 4 matches, I switched back to heavy cannon quick blink, and it's kind of a combination between that 15k poke. Yeah, it got nerfed. It's lost 1,000 meter range. It's not that big a deal.
No.
But that ability to poke, and it still isn't bad. I mean, it's not like perfect, but it's still good enough for close quarters, and it still has that monster range on it. Yeah, no, I just prefer the heavy cannon across the board.
Yeah, it's still all around the weapon you should choose.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the yeah, for a little while longer, Zarin. I feel like the faster cannon should get maybe a little more DPS than the heavy cannon can, because the heavy cannon applies so much raw damage. And that's great because you can stay at range. You can punch something really hard. But if you're wanting to get really close...
I was just going to say, it's also about the tipping point of like how quickly you break armor with that higher damage shot as well.
Yeah, because you're smashing the armor, and then you're getting that huge damage multiplier, which again is in a good place. The heavy cannons are where they should be, and they need to have range to poke. If you change the heavy cannon's damage now, or change its armor penetration, it's gonna hurt the hunter a lot. But if you tweak the damage, the DPS, the total DPS that the faster cannon can do to reward you for getting close and being more risky with it, then I think that's a better trade-off.
Yeah,
like, how do you guys feel about that?
And in faster, or in closer combat, where the faster cannons and the quick blinking back and forth across somebody and making them chase after you, where that's effective, the hunter still can't go toe to toe with Leviathans, flagships, brawlers. I mean, even to a point, enforcers will still dominate at that close range. So it's my only concern with it is it outclassing the small ships and letting it just put too much constant, consistent fire on a small ship, because they really don't need a rougher time right now. So I'd be interested in seeing how it plays out against the small ships, but I do think that barring any issue like that, I think that going that way so that it has that higher base theoretical DPS would be a more rewarding option for those people who want to use the faster.
I've been playing a lot of sniper recently. How do you guys feel about the sniper right now? I honestly feel like it's in a really good place now, and it was the biggest problem for such a long time. But it doesn't seem. It's got its strengths, it's got its weaknesses, it's got its counters, but I haven't noticed it being feeling desperately overpowered, and I've always felt like I've never felt like I've got no chance anymore. I feel like it's.
Yeah.
I feel like it's much. It feels good to me, but it'd be interesting to get your thoughts.
I haven't played it since the heavies got their armor buff, and I really haven't seen anybody playing it, honestly. So I'm not sure. We don't have a lot of our old top snipers around right now to have we have played games against, to see if it's just a matter of, well, these guys with the skill are still a bit ridiculous and really hard to kill, and if there actually needs to be something at the higher level, to do some slight adjustments with it. But as of right now, I haven't seen snipers dominate a match, even the few times I do see them.
They've never dominated. I've been in a few matches with skilled players playing the sniper recently, and it is still very much so that annoying sentry that is there and will wreck you if you're not careful or don't have a shield or can't hide behind something, or if you're out in the open and they're on base defense. They're going to hurt you. Very bad for being there, and that's their job. And they do fit into the background very nicely to where they're not all-consuming, they're not too dangerous, but they are a threat that you should be worrying about. Mm-hmm. So it's in a good spot right there. But playing the sniper has been really frustrating and unintuitive to its aiming reticle. Like, because you really have to play around that one little laser dot. And it never really stays in the center of your crosshair. And it likes to jump up and down quite a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've been playing a sniper and I've had the perfect shot right in that one place where I need to shoot that disruptor. And when I fire the cannon, that little laser blip goes, doot, and then the beam just fires like 20 meters too high. And it's frustrating. The ray cast on that thing for finding out where that shot's going to go is doing something weird.
It's bugs like that, though. Bugs like that are, in my experience, they're symptoms of having a map that's too big. And that's the kind of stuff that starts happening when you start getting further away from the 000 point on a map. And it's stuff like that I'm really hoping when we do finish this map split thing and we've got all of the sectors in their own little map file, so they'll all be centralized in their own coordinates. I hope it's things like that, like the jumping of the crosshairs, like the little jitters, all of those kind of things are the kind of things that get fixed by that, or get caused by that. So I'm hoping that we're going to solve all of that stuff in the split map. Touch wood.
That would be nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that I would like to address is the main cannon, the Tempest cannon on the Leviathan. I have some very strong mixed feelings about that. One, for giving it a cooldown on top of it already having a spin up. Because you have to wait 10 seconds even after you've already, waited maybe 4 or 5 seconds to actually spin up the weapon to fire. And then you have a cooldown on top of that, even if you only tapped it for a couple seconds and then released it to realign onto your target. And instead of letting the target know, hey, guess what? These cannons are coming for you like a sprinkler. So there's that. I would like to see the cooldown removed off of a spooling up weapon. And the slow, which seems a little ridiculous on a heavy ship, making yourself an immobile object just so I can have this chain gun thing. I get that it was supposed to be, I'm a heavy gunner and I'm going to move really slow as I spool up my weapon. You're a very fat and slow spaceship already. So making yourself slower on top of that really hurts for not that much damage.
Yeah, I'm definitely of the same opinion there. I was really frustrated my first several games I had with the Leviathan because I ain't got a lot of time. I just kind of jumped in. I didn't read the patch notes. It's, okay, I got this really cool gun. I can hold it down forever, and it's great. And now there were several fights that I lost because I kept going, okay, I want to fire now. Why am I not firing? What's going on? Because I didn't notice the cooldown. I didn't notice the spool up time. All I saw was that I was hitting mouse 1 and there was nothing going on. And
for a very long time.
Yeah,
for a very long time.
Yeah, and I was thinking I could tap. Okay, it's immediately going to start, and I kept incurring this penalty, and I had no idea why I was dying. So I was thinking it was not so great, but then it's like, oh wait, okay, there's this spool up thing, and it's got a cooldown. All right, now I can shoot people.
So I do agree the cooldown just needs to go away. If it's going to have a spool up, it needs to not have the cooldown. But as far as the Tempest slow, I kind of have two thoughts with it. And one is, I've found that personal experience, it has done its role as a heavy the best when I just plant myself in the middle of the lane, take my fingers completely off the movement keys, and just stand there like a freaking turret and mow people. Because once you stop moving, that weapon bloom shrinks down, and you're almost pinpoint accurate. It's really disgusting how accurate it is, and its DPS is actually really high when you're that accurate. But it does what Flagship does with a bunch of crowd controls by hitting like a truck, which I thought was really cool, and I think that's why a lot of people have been playing it. But my other kind of real concern is with a 20k range and punishing you for letting go of the left mouse button, even if it's just to spool back up. I have a feeling that if you take away Tempest Slow and you take away the cooldown, people are just going to tape their left mouse button down when flying Leviathan and literally just spray bullets everywhere all the time, always.
Yep.
But isn't that what the Reaper does already?
Yeah.
From 13k, not from 20.
The Reaper also has to worry about the fact that it doesn't get 100% of its weapons.
Right,
yeah, firing arc. But again, the main thing that bothers me about the slow is you need to shoot something, but you also need to get in that cap bubble. And you also need to get into gamma, but you're taking like a 90% slow penalty. I don't know what the actual number it is, but that's what it feels like. And it's such a gigantic... I can't move anymore. I'm gonna sit here and good luck, guys. I can't get in that bubble. I need to shoot that thing.
Yeah.
Which for me was always a case. The problems or the times I would notice that problem, and going back and watching my replays, I would go, no, I should have just gotten into that cap circle before firing. You still have the fusion beam to do that initial damage and kind of keep them off them. And everyone's still kind of terrified of Leviathan. There are situations where, I really need to be firing my gun at this guy, and I really need to be going in the cap, but I'm not completely sold that it's so mandatory that it has to change. I think we could look at reducing the slow, especially if we could tie it to part of that spin up. But I'm not completely convinced that it isn't just a drawback of the ship and of the weapon system. That it's more than that it's something breaking and it needs to be adjusted.
So how would you like to see that change to bring it up to par besides just reducing the slow?
Yeah.
Tough questions.
Okay.
Snappy, well-worded answers here on Duckworks.
Here's a simple one. How you've been playing a lot of the Ranger. How do you feel about the damage on the main gun? Because from the times that I have played around with it, it gets to mid-game, and I find myself very frustrated with the leaf blower.
I've actually been really enjoying it. It can be frustrating because of the general skill shot. The skill to land the shot with it at any point is frustrating, but at that mid-range, it starts to kind of taper off, and I find I have to rely a bit heavier into my grenades. And most of the time, I can either convince people that, hey, you really want to rush me because I'm that annoying ranger that's been poking and terrorizing you all match, and then they can run into my mines, or they'll just completely ignore me and go, it's just a ranger, and let me poke and harass them to death like I'm an equalizer. But I do think it could use some more damage just because it does take a pretty substantial amount of skill to hit anything outside of like 8k, and it's a skill shot, and it's a constant skill shot that you have to maintain your DPS, and it's frustrating to put in 9, 10, 11, 12 shots into an enemy ship, and you haven't broken his armor yet.
That, and with a charging skill shot, the Corvette, with its homing heavy smart gun, does the same amount of damage, if not more.
Yeah. And with disarm, he can actually kill you without...
heavy smart gun? Yeah. The heavy smart gun, I've hit broken armor and done 900 damage with the heavy smart gun. You know, homing, no problem, shoot it from 13k away. Oh, that's going to hit. Yeah, there's 900 damage every single time that hits. Pretty much the same time as the leaf blower takes to charge up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it doing 700 damage in broken armor, it's not rewarding. It's not worth it. I don't see why I personally would want that as a combat ship right now.
Yeah, the problem is if the damage goes too high on it, it will completely outclass the sniper. Because
right. It would become a mini sniper.
Yeah,
I don't feel it competes against the sniper. I feel it's competing against frigate.
Well,
and I actually play it like a frigate who traded in screen for double scalpel range and detect slow.
That's true, yeah.
And in that role, I find, that light skirmish, harass, be annoying while I'm capping things and keep you from actually going and fighting the things you really should be fighting. I mean, I find a lot of success with it. I don't know how you guys are feeling with it, and I know there's a lot of people who, I think Seraphin's been talking about it not having a role, which, again, I feel it has a role, it's just, it's not a unique role.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting to the point where we're having enough multiple ships doing the same job that we don't have the ability to give every ship a unique role.
Mm-hmm. People are still used to unique flavors, and we're not used to seeing chocolate and double chocolate yet.
Yeah.
And
milk chocolate.
Yeah,
rich
chocolate.
But yeah, it is what you said, Sarah. Competing with the sniper, I feel it would compete with railgun sniper a little bit, but the sniper still has that ability to be all the way across the lane and shoot things.
Yeah,
so
it would be trading a little bit of range and a little bit of damage for a lot of mobility, and you would also have the ability to pseudo protect yourself. I mean, if you really wanted to go hardcore, I'm going to pretend to be a sniper, and just sit there and not take advantage of your speed. You still have those mines that you can lay down to provide yourself maybe not exactly protection, but give whoever's going to sneak up on you a very nasty surprise. And actually, I would like to point out, just for the psychological aspect of it, Jiraiya, when you first mentioned the mines, you called them grenades. I think that is very, very telling.
They are very much so grenades.
Well, I had actually responded to the dev somewhere on this, but I put up a video on YouTube of like my second or third game in the Ranger ever. It was the first one after the hot fix that fixed their leaf blower from missing wildly by millions of miles.
Mm-hmm.
And I called it Grenadier because that's what it felt like I was playing. Is I had space grenades that could now double as mines.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's nifty, but they're still grenades.
Yeah,
they're still grenades. Every one of those mines is a grenade because you could just chuck them so perfectly at whatever you're shooting, and they chuck at a 5k range. Mm-hmm. It's not a mine layer where you just kind of toss them out the window and hope they blow something up. No, you are actively loading a catapult of mines and just throwing them at things.
Mm-hmm.
And they blow up for like another 1,500 meter range, so it's effectively a 6,500 point shotgun that even if they shoot it down with point defense, it still blows up and they take damage.
Because you're chucking it right on their hull. And it is a substantial substantial amount of damage. I'm talking like 6 to 7K hitting on a heavy ship. If it's just sitting there taking all those mines, your little light ship is inflicting like as much damage as a sniper, with marked target and LR cannon.
Thursday's play session, we did a all ranger match on the stream, and at one point, myself and one of our other rangers took their forward base, and we just immediately threw down a bunch of mines right by that jump point. And we sat there and watched people coming in. The first time they did it, they came in one at a time. The second time they staggered and did one guy in to eat as many mines as he could before he died.
Mm-hmm.
The second one would eat the rest of the mines, and then hopefully the third one would be able to fight off the two of us. But of course, our mines were off cooldown, so we just immediately started chucking space grenades again as soon as we saw the second guy. Didn't matter. So it's sitting there going, this is a little much.
That's hilarious.
It really was funny. In fact, the video got put up with Talking Fractured, and I got to see it from the other perspective, and it is still hysterical to watch somebody jump in, and immediately their entire screen pops up with the health bars of 16 mines, all coming to give you hugs. But
yeah, I've had that. I've jumped into that. It's terrifying.
This is something that I'm concerned with, because I do like Ranger, and I think it's really gave a lot of room so that we can adjust frigate's screen now that its mines can do damage. But at the same time, I really want to change the mines so that they're actual mines and not grenades.
Mm-hmm.
So that it pops them out the back like an equalizer pops its buoy. Or the levy drops his beacon. Mm-hmm. So that
I just wonder how much
not...
use they'd have if they were actually deployed that way.
Well,
you'd have to actually tactically fly in front of the thing that you want to mine. Like they're mines. Like if you want them to be grenades, then you call them grenades, and you give them that role, and you scale back their damage a little so they're not two of these rangers one-shotting something as it jumps into a sector.
It wouldn't exactly solve the problem, but it would make just throwing them at somebody in the middle of a fight not work so well. What about giving them a 5 or a 10-second arm time? So that way, if you wanted to camp a jump point and you were able to pull that off, you could still do that. But let's say unless there was like a heavy just sitting there waiting to get exploded on, you couldn't just throw all of them at somebody and get away with it. They could move, they could get out of the way and deny you that damage. I mean, it would force them to make a move or potentially take more damage, while also still kind of keeping them the same as they are now.
You'd have to change it so that they don't explode when killed by point defense while arming. Otherwise, I'm just going to trick you into blowing up my grenades for me by firing off some missiles at you as either ship.
That's what I do right now. If they don't have point defense on, when I chuck the mines at them, I shoot some missiles, and then they turn on their point defense, and they eat more damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets to be a nice burst instead of a slightly slower load coming off at them.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded really bad. I apologize. English is hard.
But yeah, it needs something. The way it is right now, both of those ships are now grenadiers, and they do it very well because they're fast, they're mobile, they get right on top of a heavy ship, and they can ruin its day. And
they're tiny, so unless you've got flak, that's really hard to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I have the thought, okay, so, we take away the grenade aspect. Now they're back to relying almost exclusively on their weapon damage outside of, setting up an ambush ahead of time and getting basically lucky with somebody flying into those mines. So now we have to buff their main weapon, and at this point we've, like, especially with Ranger, okay, so we need to look at fixing the shutdown repair, the mines, the main weapon. Honestly, I think that detect slow could just be removed for something that was single target. Whatever I have targeted is slowed by the same percentage, and bump the range out to like 12k or something, maybe 13. Because having an AoE, I mean, one of the best AoE crowd control options, it's what makes Disruptor, in a lot of ways, a lot better than other ships in team fights, better than the Corvette. Because the Corvette, yeah, it has to drop its bubble, but even with the stationary bubble, you still have to get in the middle of combat, which is kind of suicide for a Corvette. But the Disruptor can blink into the middle of you, pop the detect slow, pop its drones, and then 15 seconds later blink out before anyone's been able to even hit the stupid thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So giving another ship, what is effectively or at least arguably the best crowd control, I don't like it. I think we could just make it a single target slow, add a little bit of range to it, and call it a day. But then we've changed pretty much every single ability on the ship, and that also makes me feel nervous because the ship, I feel, works right now. It's not Carrier. It's not Carrier from last patch or Enforcer from last patch.
Dispatch Carrier is pretty good.
Yeah, I do like where it is. I like. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point, it just makes me nervous because now we've stacked on changes for everything, and it really didn't need to be changed, but there's annoyances, and we want to fix those annoyances, but it would make a new ship.
It would. It would be changing it a lot while keeping its core mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, something to see.
It's like with Infiltrator. I personally would like to see Infiltrator lose the ion drones and instead having something like League of Legends, how Soraka has that Starfall that'll apply the stacking magic resistance reduction debuff to everyone in the area.
She doesn't have that anymore.
Yep, that's gone.
I'll tell you how
That's
long
gone.
it's been since I played her in LoL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But something like that where, hey, now I can mark multiple targets with the ion debuff and maybe even make it so that I do it while stealthed, but give it like a 4K range. So, yeah, I'm stealth and I'm stacking this debuff on you, but anybody paying even the slightest bit of attention goes, my ship is suddenly moving slower and I have this debuff on the left side of my screen. I should pop detect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would also, just it would make the slow make a lot more sense on the ion charges, because you're not just drones and I'm sitting here 20k away and you can't do anything about it. It would be I'm right here, so I need something to help deal with you, and you also know I'm here, so you can start dealing with me.
Yeah, but at that point I'm sitting here thinking, well, if we implement this, that really changes a lot of the ways Infiltrator plays. And Infiltrator is actually at a pretty good spot, other than it kind of raffle stomping the lights a little too hard. Mm-hmm. But, it has trouble. Flagship in particular just laughs at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I love having
Brawler
ion
and Reaper
drones on
also,
me.
with having the fighters that can just murder those ion drones in a few seconds. I mean, they're basically Infiltrators really stomping those lights. It's kind of like how Sniper has been dominating the heavies. So it's another case where I don't want to change it because it's working, but I want to change it because it could be better.
Yeah, it's a little too close to that area of being able to be hard countered, which nobody likes losing
because of a choice.
Yeah, you don't, it's not fun when you lose as A because somebody else picked B, because then you don't want to try, and then people get pissy and leave, and that ruins a game for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it was the big driving force between me nagging for like 2 months. Increase Corvette's health so I can't one-shot it as assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Because that frustrated me as an assassin player, being able to one-shot him right through that shield.
Yeah.
And now that they're not, hey, look, Corvette is actually comparable to Disruptor. I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of other changes to the meta, but it's no longer this, they have an assassin on the enemy team and I'm Corvette, so I automatically lose every time, always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of assassins, what do you think about the balance between the plasma casters and the rockets now? Because plasma casters, in my opinion, are ridiculous.
Yeah, basically,
Very
I
nuts.
feel that Assassin is kind of terrible right now, but because Plasma has such a big projectile, and it now moves really fast, and it's a huge blob, you can hit even the light evasive ships like Equalizer with very little required skill. So it's propping it up so that a lot of people are pointing at, this assassin going, hey, I played Plasma and had absolutely no problem. Well, yeah, just because Plasma's doing ridiculously well doesn't mean the ship doesn't have problems. It's kind of like saying Frigate is perfectly balanced. Frigate's terrible ship, not so much now, but Screen was making it amazing. And the problem was Screen, not with Frigate's actual balance.
I still think Screen is too much.
Screen is a little dumb still. Like, even I thought the cooldown on Screen End would be great, but that wasn't a solution to the problem at all.
I think the solution to Screen is to have the cooldown start when the ability ends rather than as soon as
it already does that. It already does that.
Have we fixed that already?
Yep.
Yeah, you fixed that already. And you can toggle it off early now to put the cooldown on early cooldown. And it's cool like that, but it's still, you can keep it up for 20 seconds, and there's no penalty for keeping it up for 20 seconds besides a longer cooldown. And it makes you invulnerable to anything. The Screen kind of needs a health.
The only problem the only change I saw that the toggle did was now Concuss destroys the frigate because it shuts off. It not only slows you, but it shuts off your screen now.
Yeah.
So, okay, now frigate has something that can possibly counter it in one-on-one if the frigate lets them get close enough, which doesn't happen.
It has a one-button, almost complete hard counter, which is something, but yeah. I mean, especially with the fact now that the frigate's multi-shot is very much worth taking, and you couple that with, say, the SCUA and the AoE damage increase buff, you can, while you won't, one-on-one, be raffle stomping large ships, they certainly have to pay attention to you now. Because, I mean, if they don't, you are going to rip them open.
Even with the harder hitting heavies. Like, it's a nasty little combat ship. It's mean.
And and
I find I can't kill one as I can't kill a flagship as frigate anymore. But like destroyers, I'll kill a destroyer without ever taking a single point of damage or activating the screen. You can't hit me, so
exactly.
Yeah.
So let me move on to my last and final gripe for this conversation, and that would be point defense being moved into the energy system. And that's mainly for the assassin and the infiltrator that suffer from these problems. And with you guys wanting to tie in energy system to other abilities in the future, it's becoming more and more of an issue. Like right now with the assassin or the infiltrator, I can choose to have point defense, or I can choose to cloak in and fight them, but I can't do both. If I cloak in and, slow crawl all the way across the field, hoping no one detects me or anything like that, I finally get there to where I'm ready to attack, and I'm out of energy. So if I start attacking, here comes missiles. Well, I can't do anything about that anymore. Also, there's the bad scenario of you've gotten randomly decloaked by a incoming shot, and you are trying to recloak as your cloak is going through its cycle time, but here comes the missiles. Well, time to turn on point defense. Oh, I can't cloak anymore now.
It's when they're firing missiles at you and you have that moment to decide, okay, is he going to be accurate enough that he's going to hit me after I hit cloak, and so the missiles will reacquire me, track in, and keep me cloaked from that sustained, dragged out volley of them hitting, because I can't activate point defense without breaking cloak and having to start the cycle all over again on the cooldown and consuming my cloak energy. Or do I just hit the point defense, slough off the missiles, and then as soon as those are down, take whatever energy I still have left and try and get away with a cloak?
But you can't.
Yeah, both options are wrong.
Yeah. It feels like it's stagnated a lot of the gameplay, moving it into the singular energy pool instead of keeping them on their separate systems. So point defense on its own subsystem cooldown, and then energy system drawing off its own pool. Like they both need their tweaking. They need their ideas and stuff done to them. But right now it is very impactful in a negative way that I see it. Jared, you were going to say something?
I was going to say I understand the current frustrations, but looking at it in the long run, I think just what that is right now is growing pains. That is okay. Yeah. This is the only instance that I can think of where we're having two different systems interact with energy. So we're seeing something that is, if I'm understanding correctly, going to be present on all ships later in the future. It's just right now it feels really oogie because you've got two really strong defensive and arguably offensive in the case of Cloak, but you've got these two really strong defensive systems both vying for the same resource, and there hasn't been any sort of special attention paid to how those are going to be interacting with each other yet.
So you're thinking if everybody else used the energy system, if everyone used the energy system for all their abilities, that it wouldn't be that big of an issue?
I think that this is just the first speed bump that we're running into.
Right, like that's why we're addressing it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It's going to get better because there hasn't been a pass saying, okay, let's sit down and look at this specifically. You know, we're the fact that you guys are complaining that you're having to deal with this. I haven't played Assassin recently. But the fact that this is such a big deal, that this is creating decisions that you guys have to make in moment-to-moment gameplay, that in and of itself is a good thing, is something that there needs to be more of. It just is super ultra unrefined right now. And so it's I don't view it as a bad thing in and of itself. I just view it as something that, needs a shit ton of polish.
Now, I agree with you on that. The idea of having to make that decision is good, and I do like having that. You do have to make that decision, and I think Fox and I both have the same opinion that it's not having to make the decision; it's that both answers to that decision are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what happens, because they fired missiles at me, I'm in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
When the missiles,
sorry, Willis is trying to say something as well.
Oh no, I was just going to completely agree with that sentiment. You always want to have nice, clean decisions to make. That's totally the mentality that I feel like we need to strive for in all aspects of the game. I've talked about it in terms of the map flow, and when we introduced the locking of the jump routes based on the forward stations, it suddenly gave you those immediate, I need to do this now, that's my priority right now, kind of it gave you that clarity of what you should be doing at that moment. And right now it sounds like the assassin has kind of lost that in how it responds to situations, and we need that.
And I like having, even the case where it's not necessarily I have to use this ability in response to this ability or this in response to this, where it's okay, I have a couple of options to respond to it. But yeah, it's not even that. It's just there's missiles. Well, crap. I need to eat something here. I'm going to be taking extra damage because of these missiles.
If we were to split off the resources for one of the abilities, whether it was point defense or stealth, which one do you feel like should have its own separate resource?
I think if they were to be split off, I would split off point defense, but I would split it off for everybody.
It would have to be consistent across ships.
Yeah, so that nobody has to deal with it, because I think everyone else would have the same kind of issues. But yeah, having the point defense, and I don't even know. And this is kind of what's tearing it.
It would just be like a point defense ammo gauge or something, and it's like it's got this much ammo, and then it'll take that long to repair, reload, or whatever.
Right.
And I'm not even sure about
punishing
that.
ammo racks.
Just not making it a flat. I mean, there was talk back even before point defense came out about it being just kind of an always on, kind of like how World of Warships does it, where it's just, it detected missiles, so I'm going to shoot at it and do what I can to kind of protect
There's
it.
something to be said for having it as an activated ability, and there's some funky. I mean, there's those interesting little nuances with the way it works right now. Like, do you activate it early and back up while the missiles are coming in, so that you can kind of maximize the time that they're flying through your point defense, or do you wait for most of the missiles to get almost close to you, so you get that little spike of initial effectiveness that comes with the point defense? I quite like the whole timing mechanism behind it right now. I find for a one button system, it's surprisingly fun and nuanced to use.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think it would be worth kind of keeping it as an activated ability overall, as so long as it's not a case where it is completely overwhelming the average player base with too much to do at one time, because that's just not fun. I mean, yeah, we'll all adapt to it, but if 70% of the players can't use it properly, change it. But as far as having
the readability on it right now isn't really helping stuff. I'm still finding I don't know whether I've got it switched on or whether it's switched off, and it's.
I'm using Snib UI, and I've got the energy bar to the left side and the new little cool point defense indicator thing, and I still am turning it off when it's on.
Yep.
And every time I do, I go, I can't believe I made that mistake. But it's it's because they weren't firing at the moment I checked, and I checked my energy bar, and it didn't tick down in the half second I was looking at it, and my ship wasn't firing at the exact moment because there was nothing in range, and that indicator appeared to be
just
at a
fire
still
when they're switched on, even if there are no targets. Maybe that would make it.
That actually might do it, honestly.
It would be really obvious they're on then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm wasting ammo out in space. Hey, I should turn that off now.
Yeah, because how often have you gone to hit it and go, how am I at 10% point defense energy?
Oh, wait, I turned it off when the
after
missiles
that
are coming. Oh, this is going to hurt.
Yeah, we've all done it far too many times.
Every time.
But when you get it right, it feels really good. We just need to make it easier to get it right.
It is nice. Question, Willis. Have you heard any word on the sneaky little changes to the explosion radius on the plasma torpedo from the
Osprey.
Fast little blue thing, the Osprey.
No.
Okay, right now, it currently will hit you even if you point defense it anywhere. Any
right,
ship, even if you're moving backwards.
The AoE is big enough that you
It's
can't.
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no patch notes on that I found.
Oh, right. No, I wasn't aware of that.
I have found you can shoot it down with flak still, which
You
okay,
can
it
shoot
really
down
doesn't
flak.
do
There's
anything,
that.
but I do find it really interesting when somebody, when like there's a flagship who's paying attention and will shoot it down if you fire it at him, instead firing it at somebody next to him and letting that guy's point defense activate it and trigger on him and the flagship, because that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
but at that point, I'm punishing the flagship who had been playing properly because his teammate was stupid about it.
Had he been looking out for his teammate with his flak, as he should have been, then he could have avoided the whole situation, so I think it's fine.
Okay, so do we have any more major gripes, or do we want to start wrapping this up? Because we've been almost 3 hours now doing this.
2 hours and 35 minutes.
I think I've
Just
got
ticked
one more
over.
bit.
Just about
Specifically
What's our one more bit?
with flak versus photonic versus leviathans. Flak versus photonic in a straight one-on-one fight. The photonic will kill the flagship before he gets even to a third health. It's actually almost one half, which, I mean, feels really ridiculous. The flak is really good other than that, and I really like it for a lot of things, but that kind of gets me as I really don't like that. And then flak versus Leviathan, I mean, I've never seen the flagship ever come out on top of it, even with like gas 3.
no chance.
Yeah, that. So, and then both photonic and flak not doing bonus damage after they break the armor. It's great that they break the armor and you're supporting your teammate, but it still doesn't fix the issue that was our original complaint when they removed the armor breaking on it, where after you break the armor and hit that threshold where other ships would have started breaking the armor, your DPS goes from pretty good to worse than Corvette. So that's kind of the issue. I think I really like the new flak. I think it needs a damage increase to make it more comparable, at least get it in the same range as photonic as terms of damage, DPS, whatever, and then let them deal bonus damage to armor. If it's a case where it's too much, then maybe give it a reduction so it doesn't do the full damage bonus against broken armor because it's flak and it's small little particles or whatever you want to say.
Yes,
But yeah,
in real scenarios, it's the thing you would want to apply against broken armor.
Mhm.
Something that's explosive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that we've just kind of reverted to using the Corvette as a DPS floor.
But it's not even the actual floor. I mean, it's still Scalpel Beam is the worst.
Yeah.
Scalpel Beam is
raw
the worst
numbers.
early game. Later games, Scalpel Beam gets really annoying.
Well, Scalpel Beam's always annoying. At
Yeah.
least we got rid of the camera shake.
Oh, dear God.
Okay. Early game Scalpel Beam, I just ignore it. For the first 3 to 4 levels, I treat it like it's not even there. It's something. And I kind of feel that's a little bad, to where you can just flat out ignore that red laser completely and just go about your business because it's not really even hurting much. It's kind of a little bit of damage here and there for those first 4 levels.
It's like gas 1 hasn't popped, ignore the little red laser. It doesn't do anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're even a medium, let alone a heavy. Heavy's,
Yep.
I mean, even late in the game, unless you're going to be several minutes traveling down the lane to capture their forward base, Scalpel's not even going to do anything to you.
Now, it's also in a really weird spot with that, because one Scalpel Beam alone at any given point of the game, that's fine. It's all fine and dandy. Two, and it becomes a horrible disco laser of death, and you want nothing to do with it.
Where you
If
see
there's-
the two of them coming, you're like, I'm just going to jump to the other lane.
I'm gonna go away now because those 2 red lasers, the scalpel beam times 2 is damn horrifying, and I don't want to see its damage buffed at all. But at the same time, its early game damage is terrible on its own. But if there's 2 of them, it becomes the enforcer problem of they're just gonna roll through the lane.
It's the same problem Assassin used to have when a pair of Assassins could open up, ambush together, and kill a flagship before the flagship could even rotate his guns towards them.
So it's a hard balancing aspect there. It is both in the right spot and the wrong spot. It almost needs a diminishing bell curve for how many weapons of the same type are on the single target.
Which is just kind of bizarre to have. I mean,
Yeah, which could not happen, but there'd
Because
have to
its
be this
DPS
very
is so
secretive
low.
system slipped in there and tell no one.
or alternately, we could just go ahead and say, okay, only one of every ship.
Yeah,
I'm
which
looking forward to
is
when
the
we've got
eventual
enough
goal,
ships.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean,
Because
in the
two of
tournament, those
something.
matches have been so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have been interesting.
All right.
We
I
did
don't-
3 hours yet? Because
We are at 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Wow.
We
A lot of talking.
I'm sure we can talk for another
I'm sure
20
we can
minutes.
keep going, but I don't want to stick that on YouTube and have people open it up and go, my God, 5.5 hours. Nope.
Well, I'm just thinking to myself, it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes since I ate bacon, and I could go and make some more bacon.
Man
Yeah.
has a point.
All right, everyone, get your
Yeah.
bacon. Do you guys want to wrap this up now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
All
Let's
right.
kill this.
I'd like to eat breakfast. All right,
Breakfast would be
so. All right, thank you guys very much for joining us on the stream here. Apparently my phone's on. I didn't know that. But thank you very much, Willis, for taking time out of your weekend to come and do something that is technically work related.
Well, thank you. It was fun. It was fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
nice to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, and
Fun,
then
we did something wrong.
Of course, Jiraiya, Architect, and Fox from Loa, Phoenix, and I by Power, respectively. Very awesome having all of you guys on here, and yeah, we're gonna do this again next month, and every
Yeah.
month until something horrible happens to me.
That's okay. We'll carry on without you.
Optimism, I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so bright and cheery.
Ray of sunshine. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks,
This has been
guys.
Duckworks, and we're gonna see y'all next month. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.